Hi everyone, welcome to Social Point. I'm Seamus McGinnis. It's so great to have you here for our very first episode. We got a ton to talk about. Of course, there's the 2020 election. Trump has COVID. He's still in Walter Reed as of right now. And then we have a pre-produced history segment for you about Jakarta and Indonesia 1965, which I promise you is more interesting than it sounds right now. And we have a great interview with Mr. Thomas Durkin, who is a legendary Chicago lawyer. We talk about Trump and the Supreme Court, his federal court appointees, and what all that means for our civil rights going forward. But before we get started, I just want to take a second to talk a little bit about the idea behind this show, because it's kind of a web show / podcast thing, and I've never really done anything like this before, so I do ask that you be a little bit patient with me in terms of just putting everything together. It's kind of weird being on camera even, but just stick with me a little bit. But more generally, the idea here was that it's looking more and more likely like Joe Biden's going to win the 2020 election. So a poll came out this morning that he leads 14 points nationally. In battleground states, he does now have a commanding lead. In states like Michigan, Wisconsin, it's tight in Iowa, in Ohio, in Florida. So it's looking like Trump has a very tough path to 270 for the Electoral College. But of course, that's what we said in November 2016. So I will never trust anything again, to be honest. But the point here is, John Mulaney has a bit about a horse being loose in the hospital being kind of a metaphor for Trump's administration. And with him and Walter Reed right now, he quite literally is the horse loose in the hospital. But the point is, he also talks about how we kind of trusted Obama. That, you could point out how, Obama did the same thing as Trump did here. And the defense tends to be, I trusted Obama. Obama knows what he's doing. He knows more than I do. He has access to intelligence. He must, I trust what he had to do. We don't give Trump that benefit of the doubt at all. And rightly so. I mean, he's shown time and time again that he is no smarter and no more special than the rest of us. Although his supporters would probably argue with me on that. But my point is that we tend to kind of have this aura around the Oval Office. And Trump has, thankfully, I think that's kind of the silver lining of his administration, is that people now recognize that the president is no more special than the rest of us. And there's no kind of presumption of privilege that he must be right because he's the president. But what's important is, as worn out as we are, as long as the past 4 years have been, if Joe Biden is to win, we cannot go back to sleep. We cannot go back to trusting the president just because he agrees with us on things. Because, honestly, I don't agree with Joe Biden on much of anything. But even if you do see him as more of an ally than Trump, which you probably should at this point, even then, we cannot go back to sleep. We don't have time. All the crises that we face and all the problems that we've complained about and talked about for 4 years now under Trump are not going to go away. We still have over 80 million people who don't actually have enough health insurance. We have, of course, the COVID crash and the recognition how vulnerable our society is to issues like pandemics that don't end up being prepared for because they're not profitable for medical companies to handle. And then, of course, there is the looming existential threat to our planet of climate change. There's constant wildfires in California. There are hurricanes battering the southeast coast for months now. We're having record hurricane seasons. We're having record storm seasons. And you're probably noticing it even in your own home, wherever it is, that the weather patterns are getting more extreme. That's because climate change is by far the biggest threat facing us over the next several decades. And we do not have 4 more years to sit around and give Biden the benefit of the doubt that he's doing enough, because it's very clear that he will not unless we force him to. But we haven't even tried to launch any kind of activism campaigns against Trump because we know he doesn't even believe it's real. And so Biden, we actually have an opportunity to push him towards a Green New Deal, which is the only true solution to solving climate change going forward. And we need world leadership also on this issue. But the only way that we're going to do that is if we all stand up and actually take control of our future. And that's why it's so important that we don't go back to sleep, because all these issues are going to be there. And we have to remember that nothing's going to go away just because someone in blue rather than someone in red is in the White House. You've been watching Social Point. If you enjoyed this video, please take a second to like and subscribe if you're on YouTube. Follow us on Spotify and iTunes if you enjoy the podcast format. And follow me on Instagram and Twitter at SocialPointPod. Thanks for watching.